It took me kind of a long time to be okay being single, but now I love it, and I wrote a song about it. When I'm swiping through Hinge and I see all the trash, or one single dude and his creepy porn stash, that's when I know that I'm free to dash, 'cause being single is dope. My life is wild and it is so fun. I always stay out far past the clock striking 1, having a last drink when I should be done, 'cause being single is dope. Starfishing my bed like my name is Patrick. My weight flips and flops, I enjoy being thick. No boy coming home late thinking he's slick, 'cause being single is dope. Some people will call me a spinster. My mom fears I'll be an old maid, and I think this will disappoint her, but I really like getting randomly laid. One day they'll make robots to go down on me. My tits will be saggy, but they will be free. I'll lay in my bed using diapers to pee, 'cause being single is dope. No, this jingle won't get me a suitor, and maybe it turns the men off. I'd sooner use a zip recruiter than share my big bed with a flaccid jerk off. Of course, sometimes I get a bit sad, and being a third wheel does make me feel bad. But then I remember I can fuck you or your dad, 'cause being single is dope. Yeah, being single is dope.
Time for
Duh.
Rocket.
Welcome to the Rocky Rundown, where you get to learn a little bit about my week. And guess what, Party God Squad? I hope it was magical, full of orgasms and no borgasms. See what I did there? D, I know it was yesterday, but happy birthday again. You're simply the best! And that was my Tina Turner impression. I had a great week, and I simply can't decide if this is a low moment or a high moment, but I performed some improv on Tuesday night, high moment, in the heart of the city as I tend to do. And because I'm a glamorous hippie who doesn't check the weather, I did it in flip-flops. After getting out of said improv show, but before the bar after party, I was ravenous. Specifically for Chipotle. But there was a freak monsoon outside. Much like other great women before me, I persisted in my flip-flops. Shoulda called them slip-slops. And goddamn 5 blocks later, I reached my destination. I know that there are haters out there who will say I'm trash. Say I remind them of a teenage dirtbag baby. But it's those moments in my life that I just go for it. Those are the moments where I love myself the most. Now I'm asking you to ask you, what's your Chipotle? If life is giving you a freak monsoon in flip-flops, will you still go for it? Went out on Friday night with my girls, and the first bar we went to had music, but dancing wasn't really the thing. A couple songs came on that made us stop mid-convo and bust a motherfucking move. Maybe it was the rosé and tequila combo. But I'm happy. My squad is the kind of squad that when faced with the option to sit it out or dance, that bitch, we dance. Ubers and Lyfts, however, they could stand to sit it out around. It was going to cost me $70 to take a car home at this time of night, 3 a.m. It was just a 15-minute drive to my house, so I had to do the unthinkable. I downloaded Via, where without a lie in sight, my driver was pacing around the car waiting for me when I got out of the apartment, and that was a great sign. Psych! He tells me he's from Nigeria, so I jokingly asked if he was a prince. He laughed really hard for someone claiming not to be a Nigerian prince, And then he monologued at me for the rest of the ride on why my hand deserved a ring. I didn't feel in danger. My guard wasn't down because I was in a vehicle with a person I didn't know, but I didn't feel in danger. I was just annoyed at the lecture. Ladies, gentlemen, friendtlemen, stop lecturing people on their relationship status. We must evolve from this antiquated small talk if we want to survive as a species. My God! Speaking of evolution, this brings us to Rocky's highest thoughts, my most stoned thoughts of the week. I've got one doozy and one doozy only. If Drake wasn't famous, I'm 100% positive I could bag him. My guest this week is none other than comedian Caitlin Bitzegaio. Caitlin's wild word was Chelsea, which can go in many different directions, as the wild words tend to do. We get into her wild night, we get into her podcast, we get into her blog, we even touch on period pieces, not the cycles. If you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You can find me on TikTok and Instagram at Wild Nights with Rocky, on Twitter at Wild Nights Pod. If you are a true blue member of the Party God Squad, then do me a solid and please write me a review on Apple Podcasts. Thank you to those of you who have done so already. It really does make a difference. Now, without an ounce of delay, please enjoy my Wild Nights conversation with Caitlin Bitzegaio. Caitlin, welcome. Thank you for doing the podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me, Rocky.
This is long awaited. I've wanted to have you on the show for some time, and I've just been getting around to asking you. So thank you so much for jumping on and doing the show. This is great.
I did feel a calling to be on this
Did you?
show. Yes, I mean, I wasn't too pressed about it. I was like, our time will come.
It will come, of course.
It will be perfect.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so now, what have you been doing? It's kind of like a will they, won't they with this pandemic. You know what I mean? They say it's going to end, and now it's not ending, and then say it's going to end.
It's a Ross and Rachel. It's
a real Ross and Rachel. So what have you been doing in particular to keep busy besides what you do in the entertainment industry? What have you been doing personally to keep busy?
My husband and I have been doing hikes. That's been a good like salvation, even like early in the pandemic. I remember like in May of 2020 when the state parks of New Jersey opened, we went on a hike, but like we were like getting up really early and like we weren't even sure why.
Yeah.
But we were like done with the hike at 8:30 a.m. and we're like, I guess we'll just go home. What do you do? What is life?
Yeah. Well, you guys must have been getting up really, really early.
Yeah, we were. But I think I don't know. I'm not naturally someone who gets up super early, but those early months of the pandemic, I don't know if it was anxiety or what, but I just was like popping out of bed.
Well, I can relate to you on that. I would feel like I certainly wasn't getting up early. I would say my window was between 11:30 and 12:30 when we were knee deep in it. But my eyes every morning would just pop open. It wasn't like beautiful, like stretch and yawn. I was like, another day in this nightmare hell.
Yes, exactly. You're like, this is still happening. Oh my God.
It's still happening. And weirdly enough, it is still happening. People are not handling this well at all, which bums me out because, I like to go out. One of the neighborhoods in New York that I like to go out is Chelsea.
Love Chelsea.
Love Chelsea. So Caitlin's wild word was Chelsea. Now, I don't know if this has to do with a woman named Chelsea, a man named Chelsea, or a neighborhood named Chelsea, but I'm dying to hear this story. I know the Party God Squad are dying to hear the story. So Caitlin, tell us your story. It
is the neighborhood of Chelsea.
Okay.
The one in New York,
yes.
not in London. Haven't torn it up there yet.
I didn't even know there was a Chelsea in London. So
yeah, we copy a lot of what they do. We don't have a lot of our own ideas.
No OGs. We just we take London's ideas and we add salt to them.
Yeah, pretty much. So I went out in Chelsea a lot in my 20s and early 30s because it was near UCB Chelsea, where I was a regular performer. Of course, the go-to bar for that set is McManus, which I do love, but for a while, my husband and I became really obsessed with this bar on 9th Avenue, not Billy Mark's, but the one directly north of that. It was called the Blarney Stone.
Oh,
Now, there's
yes.
dozens of Blarney Stones all over New York. And there's one on 8th Avenue, which sometimes people think I'm talking about that one, and I'm very much not. The one on
That's
8th
the one
Avenue,
I was thinking you were talking about.
no, no,
Okay.
it's not good. The one on 9th Avenue was truly a dive, and it was mostly frequented by mail carriers who work at that gigantic postal office on 34th Street.
Yeah.
So it was near a 24-hour bar. I mean, the first time we ever went in there, it was before a class show that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And the bartender used a phone booth to call the other bartender who was late for picking up his shift.
Oh,
And he was like,
shit.
"It's Blarney. You have to get here."
Yeah.
So we became friends with several of the bartenders there, including Chris, who was originally from Ireland. And we would go there after like UCB shows, and he like buyback would be like the first one. Like you'd have to pay for like every other beer, maybe.
Yeah.
A really interesting character. He actually went to the hospital for a while, and I found out because we would like go on his regular days, and we saw this other woman, Linda, who we also knew. And I was like, we're like, Linda, where's Chris? He's like, oh, he's just not feeling well. My husband goes to the bathroom, and this is like the most old school thing because she like didn't want to say this in front of a man or something.
Yeah,
She was like,
yeah.
Caitlin, Chris is not he's not doing well at all. He's in the hospital. He's very sick.
Oh
He's
my
very
God.
sick. And I'm like, okay, you're just telling me this. So we like found out where Chris was. We sent him flowers.
Oh, that was very sweet.
Chris makes a miraculous recovery. So then like we're in even more because like he loves us. So the wild night in question is we went there. I had one of those ridiculous midnight shows at UCB, which are often like you pitch a character. Usually go those would sell out, but then like every character would not go over well.
Yeah.
Like the audience was too tired too drunk by the time they got there, and they were like, we hate this, why are we here?
And
we're
you
like,
might
we hate
fill
it
the
too.
house, but there's no laughs. It's just like heckling the entire time.
There's no laughs. And I would always like hoodwink a friend into doing a bit with me, and then I would feel bad because I'm like, yeah, well, that didn't work and you just wasted your time. So the show doesn't get out till like 1:30, and my friend Matt Fisher, who's an excellent improviser and actor, who doesn't go out a lot, he's a dad, but we were like, come out with us to this one bar, get one drink, let's see. So we walk into Blarney Stone, and I see Chris. He's there. He's like, Caitlin, I want you to meet my friend. His name is Ethan. I swear to God, Ethan Hawke turns around.
No.
Ethan Hawke. And I have to shake Ethan Hawke's hand as if I don't know that this is Ethan Hawke. I'm like, hi, Ethan. And he's like, hello.
Oh my God.
So he's sitting with us. And he's with a woman who I'm still curious who that was. He was not married to Uma at the time. This was long after that. But it felt like they weren't supposed to be seen together for some reason. And I don't know what it is, which I found out he's originally from Chelsea. So
Ethan Hawke,
I guess, yeah.
Oh,
interesting.
Okay, so he was just visiting the neighborhood.
I guess so. And what's interesting is, as I said, with the clientele was mostly like middle class postal workers getting drunk after their shift.
Right.
And that's not exactly Ethan Hawke's demo. But do you ever, like, you've seen a celebrity, but you don't know who the celebrity is, but you can feel that they are a celebrity? I've had that happen where it's like, this person is famous. I don't know for what, but they are rich and famous. They all had that about him. So they were like, who is this guy? Because we can just feel that he is famous. And one woman went next door to the bodega and bought a disposable camera and was taking pictures with him, even though she did not know. She was not sure who he was.
Yeah.
And this was like in the time of iPhones, but she didn't have one, I guess.
She was like, I got to capitalize on this any way I can. Let me get my that's what she knew best. That was where her comfort level was lying.
And this other older woman came up and was like, you're famous. And he's like, and she's like, what do you do? He's like, I'm a professional dancer. And she was like, a
liar.
Dance now. And he did like a jig. It was just so funny.
Yeah.
And then Ethan Hawke goes to the bathroom, and I was like, Chris, what the hell is this? How do you know Ethan Hawke? And he goes, well, I'm friends with Denzel. And I was like, okay, you know what? Okay.
That's a good
You're friends with Denzel, and you met Ethan Hawke through Denzel. You are an alcoholic Irish bartender that's recently been hospitalized due to alcohol poisoning. But you know what? Sure.
Oh, that's what it was? I was gonna ask if you knew the
Yes.
ailment. It was alcohol poisoning.
It was related to alcoholism.
Oh, gotcha, gotcha.
Um and so we like had a few beers with Ethan Hawke. We took a picture with him. Every time it's my friend Matt Fisher's birthday, I always post that pic of the three of
Right.
us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it was a delight. There were a lot of fun nights there, but that one definitely sticks out.
Would you say he primarily was like kind of maybe gravitating towards you because he felt like you weren't capitalizing on his celebrity?
Yes, and it was clear that we knew who he was, but we didn't ask him or bug him any at
Yeah.
all. So it was like, whereas funny enough, the people who were not sure who he was were bugging him all the time.
Oh, yeah. Probably it's also that like eh, not to say anything, but sometimes the people that frequent those kind of bars have a very entitled mentality
Oh
where
yeah.
they'll be the kind of people where women or even men that are at that, like they'll be waiting at the end of the bar for a drink. This happened to me the other night. They're waiting at the bar, waiting at like looking over for the bartender, and then they try to make eyes at you. Oh, like where's the bartender kind of eyes, because they want to spark a conversation. But instead of just being like, hey, I like your outfit, or like great earrings, they'll be like, can you believe this fucking bartender's taking so long? It's like that
Yeah.
type of person.
Totally. There's total aggression in the place all the time. And this had like some really weird regulars. Like there was White Glen and Black Glen were two of the
Okay.
regulars.
And were they
There was
friends?
yeah. I mean, I
Hmm.
felt like it was touch and go. It was
Gotcha,
another,
gotcha.
A Ross and Rachel of friendship.
Gotcha, gotcha.
And there was another guy who was like completely covered in Star Trek pens all the time.
Mm,
Who was also like kind of looking for a fight a lot of the time. Um, it really was such a great place. And it got,
yeah.
unfortunately, gentrified or taken over by something called like Molly Mays or something. It looks cute enough, but it's just
Right.
much more generic and doesn't
Yeah.
have those same regulars.
That same kind of like gritty vibe to it.
Right, right.
The same gritty vibe. But what was I gonna ask you about Ethan Hawke? So did you guys kind of close out the bar together? You closed it down?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. And there
Yeah.
was no hope of staying in contact with him. It was kind of just a fleeting evening,
You always thought you might see him again at Blarney Stone, but
but now it's
but
gone.
no. And I don't know what happened to Chris. Um, I fear the worst. But yeah, I never saw him again because we have had some bartenders that we followed different places.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, Chris, I think when Blarney Stone, he also lived in the Bronx. So
Oh my God. Okay. I wasn't going to ask this because I don't want to be like, and I mean, I'm half Irish, but I don't want to be like Irish stereotypes of Irish bartenders in the
yes.
city. But was he short?
No, he was average height,
Average?
I guess.
Okay. Because I worked for 2 years with a bartender named Chris, who was from Belfast, who lived in the Bronx, and he was obviously from Ireland. He's from Belfast. But yeah, and he went on to, after he left our job, he went on to work at a Irish bar that was a speakeasy. So
Mm,
but not like a speakeasy like, oh, behind this bookshelf. It was kind of like a speakeasy that you had to knock and tell them where you worked in order to get let in. And I'm
gotcha.
wondering if it was the same Chris, but I would imagine it's not. If he was very short. My
No,
Chris.
no. This guy was older too. But yeah, they all live in the Woodlawn neighborhood of the
Mm.
Bronx. Yeah.
Oh, good to know. If I'm trying to pick
Hmm.
up a fella, I'll go over to Woodlawn.
Yeah, if you want an Irish bartender for sure.
I definitely always do. That's usually, I mean, if I'm at a bar, I find myself most times talking to the bartender more so than the men that are circling around the bar.
You're yeah, you're
Um,
regular Miranda.
I'm a regular Miranda. That's what everyone wants to be.
That's a regular Miranda, not even a special one.
That story actually reminded me of our mutual friend of the pod and friend of the people, Lauren Brickman.
Mm-hmm.
Many years ago, she was leaving town. I think she was going back to grad school, so she was having a little bit of a going away party. I was actually working at that bar that I was talking about that I worked at with Chris at the time, so it was at least 2011 or 12. And she told people I'm going to be at this Irish bar that was on Ninth Avenue. I don't remember the name of it. She will. I'm going to be at this bar for my going away party. But what Lauren knew about this bar was that every Tuesday night, Paul Rudd played poker there. But she didn't tell anybody that he would be there. And so I went to go meet her, and a couple people that were already there were like, holy shit, Paul Rudd is here. And so I went over there and met Paul Rudd that night. But he came up to us. He kind of like walked over to our group and he goes, oh, hey guys. And then he took a picture with Lauren and my coworker, and I go, I'm going to get my own with Paul. And I took a picture with him.
Oh, Paul.
Yeah.
And you could never say when that picture is from because he looks the same.
He looks the same. Yeah, he looks the same. And honestly, you know what? I'm not doing too bad.
No, not at all.
I'm not doing too bad. But yeah, that was a celebrity run-in is always super exciting when it's unexpected.
Always fun.
And you have to know how to handle it. You know what I mean?
Totally. And I think like I think they just appreciate if you're chill. Like I think we could have asked for an autograph or something. We did ask for a picture.
Yeah.
But like also like when you really break it down, it's like I don't like it's just fun for the story. I don't really care. Like what am I gonna ask Ethan Hawke? Like what was Gattaca like? Like I don't care.
I don't know if I could name. I know who Ethan Hawke is. I don't know if I could name 3 Ethan Hawke movies.
I don't think I've even seen a bunch. Training Day is the big one with Denzel. Like that was the huge one.
That was the big one. Yeah. Never seen it, but I'm sure I know that's the one that he says King Kong ain't got nothing on me.
I should have asked him to do that line.
Can you please do Denzel's line from Training Day?
That would have been amazing. But could you do King Kong ain't got nothing on me? Denzel's line? Yes.
Can you do it in Denzel's?
But that's just the best part. His character is so good in that movie.
Yeah. Well, the thing about you, Caitlin, is you're kind of a pop culture. What is it? A pop culture. What's the word I'm looking for?
Aficionado.
Pop culture aficionado. That's the best word. You co-host a podcast with Lauren Brickman, who was just mentioned, called We Stand, that has one of the catchiest
theme songs. Yes. We do. We are now over 80 episodes. Can you believe?
I really can't. That's wild.
Yeah, it's really crazy. Launching a podcast in the beginning of the pandemic is an interesting choice, but we made it work. And yeah, every week we have a comedian or an expert come on and we talk about a topic. We do some sort of academic presentation about it, as well as play super stupid games. We had Rocky and her brother Howard on to talk about sister-brother relationships, of which we are all a part of.
Yeah.
We recently had Anne-Marie Yu on to talk about figure skating. That was wild.
Episode. Yeah, great episode.
That was wild.
And then I saw something that she posted to you guys. You predicted something that was coming out or something.
Lauren keeps screaming for more figure skating content, and there is going to be more, I think, on like Lifetime. So Lauren's happy.
Look out for figure skating content. No, We Stand is just so much fun. And I do, one of the things I really love about your show is you have such a variety of guests. Yes, you do have comedians on, but I listened to the figure skating episode, and it's just nice to there's so many avenues of life and entertainment. It's not just comedy. So for you guys to be able to explore and to talk to so many different people, it's really great. And so much work goes into your show too, with the games and everything. Those are some. What was the game you guys just did? It was Austin or Boston. Like, what a clever game.
That was all Lauren Brickman and totally brilliant. Yes. Where the siblings, Sean and Sinead Persad, who are amazing from Shipwrecked Comedy, are from Boston, and they do like a lot of historical set comedy. So she came up with the game Boston or Austin, lyrics from the rock band Boston or the words of Jane Austen. Yeah. It was strangely hard too.
It was hard. I was like, one of the things I try to do when I listen to your show is I try to play along with the games, even if I'm not super familiar with the topic, because I'm very competitive. And that one, I was doing the dishes and listening to it, and I was very stumped on a few of them. But it was, you guys put a lot of work into that, and it makes the quality of the show just so great. It's so put together. So yes, 80 episodes is very surprising when you're looking at it. Whoa, I can't believe we did this many, but it's definitely 80 over 80 quality episodes. So everyone should check that out. And one of the things I wanted to ask you, because you did talk pretty heavy about period dramas on
Mhm.
Netflix, and I think
Yes.
you were talking about Downton
Yes.
Abbey and things like that. I The only period show I've ever gotten into was Game of Thrones, and if a boy didn't make me watch it, I don't think I would have ever watched it. I'm happy I did, but I would never have probably gone on my own. What is it specifically to Caitlin that appeals to you about period pieces? I want to get into them.
You know what? I think one thing is like they have this sounds strange, but they have a more limited way of expressing themselves in the past. Like
Mm,
people can't just be like, by the way, here's my shit, like, as if you're walking into a reality show.
yeah,
Like, so there's something like beautiful and like, but also like drives you insane about how like quiet they are, how
yeah,
measured they are. And then when they do choose to like go nuts, I think it's really interesting. And like everything was, well, it depends on certain societies, but more
yeah.
formalized. So like getting what you want, you always had to do this like crazy set of dominoes to make it all happen. And I think it's really
Yeah,
fascinating.
that's awesome. Yeah, I could never. I think I watched the first episode of Bridgerton because everyone said this
Yeah.
is the sexiest show that's out right now. But honestly, I didn't need to be turned on at every minute already in this like horn fest that is 2021.
Yeah.
I didn't need any more. So I watched one episode and I was like, you know what? I think I'm good. But maybe I'll dip my toes back in.
Yeah, it's not for everyone, it's for sure. Game of Thrones is interesting because I was thinking about Game of Thrones when we were coming up with that episode because there were some actors I wanted to talk about, and I actually did end up talking about Natalie Dormer some, but like I was like, well, this is like fake history. Does it count?
Yeah.
But it is all the same actors that do like historical fiction
Yeah.
stuff. Like Natalie Dormer, I'm obsessed with, who also was on the Tudors. I'm obsessed with her. She's like almost 40 and she plays like 20-year-olds all the time. So I
Who
need to
does
know
she play
what's
on Game of Thrones?
she is Joffrey's
Redheaded lover?
the younger the what is her name on the dang show? And then she's supposed to marry the other one too.
Oh, her grandmother tell him I did
Yes,
it. That's what.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes,
I saw
yes.
someone wearing that shirt the other day that with the grandmother that said "Tell him it was me," or "I want him to know it was
Yeah,
me."
yeah, yeah.
Whatever the catchphrase. And that grandmother was such a fucking badass.
I know.
Oh,
I'm not pursuing acting that actively, but I would like to when I'm an elderly person play those roles.
yeah, I see that for you, Caitlin. I
Thank
see
you.
you knocking that out of the park.
Thank you.
But you're pretty multifaceted and you're a writer as well. And pretty recently, I think it was in May, you started doing a blog.
Yes, yes. I started a newsletter about grief. It's
Hmm.
called quite directly My Mom Died. You
Hmm.
can find it at katebits.substack.com. You can subscribe. And it's just my mom died almost 3 years ago, and I've written some for Modern Loss and
Hmm.
but basically it's hard to get like creative nonfiction out there. So I was like, I'll just take it into my own hands and do the blog and see what
Yeah.
comes. So it's a lot of things about how grief interacts with everyday life. It's sad for sure, but I have been told it's also funny, and some of it's just like the quotidian boring stuff that happens to everyone, but like
Yeah.
when your mom died, you think about it that way. And
Yeah.
um it's been getting a good response, and I'm really happy people are connecting with it. People that I don't know have reached out and been like, my mom died, I was thinking this, and I was like, oh, this is great, like that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, I think as a comedian, people it grief is hard for everyone. I don't want to be like grief
Yeah.
is harder if you're this or that. Grief is hard for everyone in every
Yeah.
way, shape, or form. But always, comedians handle tragedy and grief. The brain works differently.
Right.
You know what
Right.
I mean? And people are expected, especially people with big personalities or who are always cracking jokes. Those are the people who everyone looks to see A, how they're doing and how they're handling something, and B, what their commentary is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when I was reading it, I was thinking to myself, you said at one point you were like, I don't know if writing this was a good idea.
Yeah.
And I thought, actually, no, it's a great idea. First of all, there's always going to be, no matter what, I don't care if it's the best content or the worst content, there somebody out there is going to be able to relate to it.
True.
And
Yeah.
there, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? There's things in your blog that are just about everyday life, like you were saying, but maybe even someone who hasn't lost a parent is like, oh, I'm dealing with this because of X, because of Y. People can find the
Yeah.
connectors. And in a way, I feel like it's a nice, probably, and I don't want to speak for you, but a nice release for you because you have all these thoughts and now you can organize them and you kind of like dump it out and get it out there. And it's still funny, it's still well written, and you're still like having this really strong connection to your mom through it. It's really powerful, Caitlin.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. And I remember writing, that part of it, on writing, maybe I shouldn't write this, was just like the first one, was the first one where I was really honest about some things that I'd been feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And then also that first one also dealt with career disappointments. And I feel like in the entertainment industry, we're not allowed to acknowledge that like parts of our career have been disappointed because you're always trying to like sell yourself for the next
Yeah.
thing. So it's not like, no, I actually, I booked a lot. Just
Yeah.
hire me next.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, and I do think there is some risk, honestly, of saying, I don't know where this is going, and I'm not. I'm getting pessimistic about certain aspects of it. But it's like, well, at the end of the day, I felt free. There's a couple friends that like in a way I'd wanted to talk about that with, and now they read it and they know,
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and it's helped kind of reconnect with some people also like from my past that I don't talk to as regularly, but I'm so happy that they're subscribing and reading it, and they were part of my mom's life.
Mhm.
So it's been a good way to both keep in touch with people, and also, like I said, I love when people I don't know reach out. It's really
Yeah.
cool.
I imagine people you don't know, yeah, that would be a really good treat to have them reach out. But I don't know if you've ever been in this position where someone who's lost someone and maybe you didn't reach out to them in a timely manner or something. You are almost giving people a window who didn't reach out to you when you lost your mom, a window to say, or a door rather, to say, hey, I read your blog. I'm sorry I didn't reach out, or I felt this way about your mom. I felt this way about you. I
Yeah.
connect with you. It's kind of like you're giving people permission to talk about her in a really beautiful way and simultaneously connect with you. And I don't know. I think that's something that you should be really, really proud of. And in whatever capacity you continue doing it, I know it's going to only get ripple effects and get bigger. And I don't know. I thought it was a cool way to deal with grief and a
Yeah.
creative
Thank
way
you.
to deal with grief.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and it's a privilege in a way because like now if a friend loses someone, I feel better equipped to reach out. Had this not happened to me,
Mm-hmm.
I'd be making some of the same mistakes. And I
Yeah.
would just encourage any listeners, if, as you said, if someone in your life has lost someone, even if it was a year ago, like trust me, it doesn't feel like a year ago to them. So
Yeah.
so reach out and be like, it's taken me 12 months and I'm sorry, but so sorry. Like it really, it will seem weirder to you than it does to them.
Yeah. Totally. So now, everyone's listened. Everyone who's not following you wants to follow you. I already know that. Let everybody know what you have coming up. I know you have some live We Stands coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So let the people know where they can find you, see you, follow you.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Caterade, and you can follow the podcast at We Stand Social on both of those. We are doing live shows monthly Mondays at the Squirrel at Caveat. So go to thesquirrelnyc.com to find out about tickets. You can subscribe to the newsletter, katebits.substack.com. And honestly, if you just go to my Twitter and my Instagram, I have a link tree to all of these. So can make it convenient for you.
Linktree is the best tree. Just kidding. Just kidding. Real trees.
Real trees can hear you.
Certainly can. Well, Caitlin, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for sharing all that. Thank you for telling us your Ethan Hawke story. And I hope to see you really soon. I think we have an Atlantic City trip that we've been bubbling to plan.
Got to get it done.
We've got to get it done. And I want to see you in person soon. So I can't make this We Stand, but hopefully I can come to the one in September.
Oh, yeah, hopefully.
And if you're listening and you can make it in New York City, come see Caitlin and Lauren live.
Absolutely.
All right, Caitlin. Well, thank you. It was such a pleasure having you on the show. We'll talk soon, okay?
All right. Bye.
All right, bye.